Hey everyone, we are coming back from our closed session. I'd like to report out action taken in closed session. The majority of the board voted unanimously to approve a compromise agreement to resolve potential and threatened claims against the district from the parents of a former student in exchange for a total not to exceed $8,643.78 in funding for privately incurred educational services and associated attorney's fees. All right, if you could all rise and please recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I'm trying to navigate the new system because now I can do this, right?
Yeah. All right, moving to our first item, OUC parent recognition.
All right, as I said, Wagner's represented. We have Delray and Sleepy's represented too. Thank you. All right. We usually have school highlights at the start of the meeting, and I know that we're excited to see some students here starting in October. But we wanted to actually, because our big focus tonight is on summer construction and improvements to facilities, which I see Swinnerton back there, Vince and Stuart will do their presentation around Measure E&I improvements. But there's some other improvements that have been happening to our sites that are not just funded by the bond. And we wanted to make sure and take a moment and acknowledge and recognize what's been happening at our school sites, and actually highlight some of those improvements as well. So I'm just going to quickly come up here real quick. So I think everybody in this room probably knows that we have some aging facilities. If you walk around some of our rooms, and maybe you don't see it right here, but if you walk around of our schools, there are some features in our buildings that you may have not seen, I don't know, 100 years that were installed. So there's some really antique things out there, some really neat old features, which, while they're really fun to see, they're not always the best or most modern or necessarily safest or cleanest. And all of those things are really important for how students feel about being on campus. It improves their sense of belonging, their connectedness, and most importantly, actually improves their learning. So physical spaces really contribute to how students function on a school campus. And while that's all really important, our federal and state government does not provide funding necessarily for facilities. So school districts are left to rely on local funding. So we do that through big things like bonds, or local fundraising, or parent clubs. So with that, that's what we wanted to recognize this evening, some local parent clubs that have made some really significant contributions to improvement of our school campuses. So I'll just start this by saying thank you to our schools, for those that are here and those that are watching or will watch later on. So we wanted to highlight 3 schools that have done some projects. So they're usually done by PC committees or parent club committees. They're established at the school site to determine some projects. They'll enhance student learning, and they look at, camp experiences on our campus that they want to contribute towards. They work closely with our district, either with Stuart or some of us, and then they work collaboratively with regards to construction management company and to implement those projects. And then they look at funding. So either they have reserves over the years that have, for special reserves, or, what's happening, for example, at Glorietta right now, they're actually fundraising for a bigger project. So either they have the funding or they're fundraising for upgrades at the school site. So we're going to highlight a few. These are these are pictures that have actually just been recently taken. I didn't take the pictures of the driveway because they're not as exciting, but there is a driveway there as well. I'm sure you guys are excited as well, but we wanted to highlight Wagner Ranch and their contributions towards the garden and the blacktop project. And you can see some really beautiful enhancements to that area. And I know that's an ongoing project there. And I also know that in talking to the principal, that the students are already in there and they're planting and they're actually using it already. But there's a nice student area. There's really a lot of accessibility, and they can actually access it deeper into the garden where they used to not be able to do that. They've also resurfaced our blacktop with the aging facility. There's a lot of cracks and blacktops that are used to be just very gray, and now there's some colors there and a lot of force wear. And so beautiful, go really nicely with those parent-funded structures from a few years ago. So we just really wanted to recognize our parent clubs. And I see Morgan here and Laura and John. Thank you so much for being here because you guys have done tremendous amount of work. And Wagner looks fantastic, really. And I know Eric's not here, but it's been tremendous not without hiccups. And I know it's still going on, but it's just it's a beautiful area. Yeah. And with that, Sleepy Hollow Garden and Blacktop, they've also done some work around the blacktop. And finally, after how many years of waiting, Patsy? What's that, 4?
3.
Okay, 3. Okay, good. Okay, good. 3 years of no garden. We have a garden that we can only describe as just absolutely grand. And it has moved from one area due to the new NPR building being built, and really has expanded and taken over that little hillside, which also presented quite a bit of challenge due to the grading, needing to make it accessible, but it's tremendous. We're just excited to see things grow there, which I understand there's seeds in the dirt, but they'll get there. So there's a lot of planter, there's irrigation system, and of course it's fenced off from all the wildlife that's there at Sleepy Hollow. So I know Nikki and Erica were the co-presidents at the time, and Patsy's here. And I didn't include the drone pictures. So yeah, and there's this, you can't really see the writing here, but it says Sleepy Hollow. And who did the carving?
It was the contractor. It was basically a gift from the contractor to the schools for that kind of, not part of the contract. He thought it was nice. He had a person he works with that does this that he commissioned.
Yes. Yes. Yes, we are excited to see it grow. And then finally, I took pictures after a rainy day, so there's some leaves on the ground. Sorry, Maple, but this is probably our biggest project. It is a Delray TK and K playground. And this was a project that was installed last summer, but it was going on for a little over a year, the planning and so on, I would say. There's a lot of work underground. And I'm sure you'll hear that from Vincent when he gets into the nitty-gritties of the project as well, because this project did not have, this yard didn't have irrigation of any kind. So anytime there would be a rain, there would be quite a bit of...
there would be flooding in the southwest corner, just major flooding. So
yeah,
all of that was addressed as part of this major drainage to divert that water back where it belongs.
Yeah. There were some safety issues that were addressed as well, because there were old... structures there in the past that were maybe removed and kids would dig them up, or holes that they would get dug up. So now it was all improved and it looks beautiful, and it just looks so widespread and spread out. And I know there's still enhancements coming with some tricycles that have been ordered.
They are built and
They're built and ready to go, just haven't been used yet.
as of today built.
Awesome. So we're going to see some trike riding children on that track. Just you wait. So they're very excited. So super excited for that's a major improvement to that school site, and we're excited to see it done by the time the school starts. And there's a shade structure there too that's not in the picture, but that's also pretty major for that. So with that, we just wanted to say thank you. We are actually looking as we install some plaques, permanent plaques for the Measure E&I, recognizing the board and the Measure E&I committees for the modernization, to put in some plaques for where the parent club funding was as well on the big projects like this. We think that promotes future and also recognizes the parents as well, because we know it's a lot of effort. And again, we know it's not without challenges. It's a lot when there's so many people involved in the project. But we truly are grateful for your dedication, for all the hard work. And I think the products are great. And I think they're just going to continue to be improved. So I know the plaques are coming as we finish all those up, but we do have, we brought them to sleep to parent clubs because we weren't sure. There were so many names out there, so we didn't know how many names to put out there. So we wrote, thanks, Angel. So we have, Patsy, I'm going to give you the 2 Sleepy Hollow, sure, for the parent club president last year, if that's okay. Just recognizing you all for your contributions and for your support. Thank you. And then we have Wagner. We can make you a 3rd one. But we're going to make something else. We're going to make you do something else. Yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And April. You as well. All right. And thank you all so much for everything that you do for all of us all the time.
Any comments from the board? Just, thank you for the parent club, collaboration and partnership. We couldn't do these kinds of projects at our schools without you. So thank you for all your work.
Absolutely. I was walking at Del Rey over the weekend, going from one soccer game, but racing to the next one. And it was very hard to get my heart rate at the end there. My kids past this without running out. We don't have time another day. So it was very cool. And thank you for the collaboration and for all of this. It's made such a better experience for our kids.
Yeah.
Ditto. I know that this is years in the making, really, and I appreciate all that effort. It's real labor of love from your volunteerism to make all that happen, not to mention the funding, and these are just basics, and unfortunately we don't have the funding for it as a district, but thank you. The kids start to love and enjoy these spaces for a really long time, and they make a huge difference.
Indeed. Thank you. They're such beautiful spaces, and onward.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You're welcome to hang out for rest. You can go home and enjoy the rest of the night. Yes, appreciate it. So, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on to our item 6A, public comment period. Brian, on the agenda, the public may comment under item 6A, and comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes. For groups, they are limited to 5 minutes. Do you have any public comment?
We have 1 public comment. Ms. Barrett?
The trustees, Superintendent Glennie, staff of the schools and visitors. My name is Catherine Barrett, and I am here this evening to remind us of the challenges we as educators, parents, and community members face providing our children of all ages and backgrounds with learning experiences that will enrich their lives. I am a biologist, and for 30 years I taught and directed biology and family health programs at the Lawrence Hall of Science in partnership with science centers all over the country and on the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia. I had the joy and honor of introducing children and teens to the natural processes that influence our biosphere and living things. I also recruited many scientists and mathematicians to share their knowledge and wisdom with these eager students. Fast forward to this evening, and I am heartbroken by the disconnect that has occurred in the past several years between the Orinda Union School District and the nonprofit Friends of the Wagner Ranch Nature Area. When Orinda Bee Man, Steve Gentry, and district naturalist Taurus Yeager recruited me and my husband, Reg Barrett, in the 1990s to help support and fund school district programs, I was thrilled to volunteer for my children's programs along with other parents. Reg and I witnessed the delight and curiosity that drove children to explore, experiment, and share their findings with other kids. We need to return to that collaboration for the sake of our children and the community. Some of the most important things teachers can give their students are curiosity and the skills of inquiry. I am also here tonight to remind trustees and the superintendent that more than $4,000 of science equipment and supplies have been unavailable to FONA since they were locked in the Nature Area Garden last March. Please give us access to retrieving these valuable materials so that the Friends of the Orinda Nature Area can begin its youth citizen science programs this October. Thank you for the many ways you support our education for our future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. And moving on to item 7A, Measure E&I implementation.
We have Vince in daylight.
Good evening. Good to see you all again.
Let me know where you want me to go.
I mean, we can jump past all of the completed items that we've saw the last quarter. Right here is the new one, the modernization. So we, as you know, we started the modernization this summer. So we have completed Delray and Gloria, and they're currently in closeout with the state and the contractor. So we are right on the heels of pretty much completely finishing up those two campuses. OAS is only 50% complete, as that was the plan to split OAS between the two summers. And then we are currently working on our game plan for Sleepy Hollow and Wagner Ranch with all the lessons learned this summer into the following. Additionally, for the 30s wing renovation, we have submitted those plans to DSA. So those are under review by the state, and we are currently looking at a constructability meeting with the contractor to determine what the ultimate cost and where any savings can be met and scheduling can be done for the work, whether it be concurrent with the school year or possibly folded into the work next summer. Go over here. So our program schedule hasn't changed. We're still on track to meet all of our milestones for the modernization project. On to the next budget. So these will be the current budget updates for all of the items for the student services building. We had our projected expenditure and some items had gone over due to picking up some of the warranty work. Additionally, same with the Sleepy Hollow NPR. As you're well aware, we've had some issues with the contractor there. So we've had some extended time on the project trying to close that item out between them and their subcontractors and the state. So there are some overages on those two projects, but they are very much picked up by the cost savings on many other projects when the encumbrance rolls back into the general fund for the bond. Modernization hasn't changed. We've simply expended further of the encumbrance over the summer as the work's been completed. And the district-wide expenses remain relatively unchanged. And same goes for Measure I. We are right at the end of the mechanical upgrades to all the campuses. So we are currently just closing those items out with the state. Part of the issue was once a certain amount of time elapses, you have to go back to the state and reopen them. And the state unknowingly had somebody retire and didn't tell us. So we had to ask why we weren't getting any updates for 3 months. As it turns out, somebody retired and no one picked up her work. So now we are back on track there, along with everything else. So no worries, those are all moving along just fine. The district-wide modernization along with the network upgrades. Network upgrades portion is about to be complete. We are wrapping that up with final items on the punch list. So those items are going to be buttoned up quite soon. And again, same with the district-wide items for Measure I.
Should we expect that as time passes, for both the modernization projects, that we will spend what currently looks like a balance, or are we coming in way under on those projects?
For the encumbrance or the projected expenditure?
Will our total spend get closer to the projected? Because right now it just looks like we have a really big balance.
Yes, we haven't encumbered everything yet as we're moving into the following one.
Yeah.
So yes, those numbers will increase as we approach the next following summer and we get all of that work underway as well. There is, however, as we'll go over in the individual items, there is a considerable delta now as we are approaching the end or the midway point of this work and looking at the overall budget along with the accrued interest in the bond. So it's looking like there will be a reasonable surplus of funds for other projects.
Great.
So we are coming in under budget.
But not 10 million.
Almost, actually. Believe it or not, so with all of these items, utilizing the total projected expenditure, that's good.
Sorry.
No worries. Utilizing the total projected expenditure of what we're expecting, and with the encumbrances and what is available from the accrued interest, we are looking at about $9.5 million in funds for other projects. Ultimately, that also, as a asterisk there, that does not include the 30s wing. So we have yet to determine the final cost of the 30s wing modernization. So we will have to consider that when looking at that total number. But again, there's a considerable amount of funds for other projects. So on to the individual updates. So the only project currently under construction now is the modernization. So these are all the numbers for the modernization itself. As a financial update after the first summer, during the initial phases of design and budgeting for the modernization project, in order to keep it under budget and to fit within what was available within the bond at the time, we went through, as you know, certain value engineering options to remove some scope from the project. Ultimately, it was determined that some of them just couldn't be taken out, and it was more in the long-term interest of the districts and the facilities to include things like the doors and additional concrete in certain areas. So with that, we actually determined to reduce the contingency from the typical 10% down to 8.75 in order to get us to fit within the budget. Even with those measures, we've actually only utilized about 20% of the contingency through 50% of the work. So we have a very wide margin to get us to the finish line. And then additionally, that should help us with any other additional work that we may or may not be able to include in the modernization through this next phase. So then at this point, we can jump to the next slide deck, which is all of our individual project updates. All right, so these are the
How do you want me to start? Here?
That's good. Yep. So for the bond modernizations, we have Glorieta Del Rey and half of OIS. So moving down. So this is the start of construction at Glorieta. We kind of have a beginning and middle and splits on these slides. So as you can see, the demolition of most of the classrooms, the windows and the framing, as well as the admin building, that entire wall you see in that third picture on the top, required quite a bit of work. The entire bottom of that wall needed to be underpinned because that door was never placed. But now it's perfectly safe. If there's ever an earthquake, stand under that door. And then as you can see in the fourth photo, the demolition of the existing concrete is for all of our path travel upgrades. Then you'll see some of the roofing and the clear story windows in the upper parts, along with the ceiling and insulation upgrades in the rest of the rooms. That bottom right photo is the restroom upgrades, the very beginning of it anyway. Moving on to the next one, this is about the midway point of Glorieta, where we began paint, pouring concrete, placing the windows, putting in trim, the new drywall going in the restrooms, and that is the very safe wall being buttoned up with drywall right there. Then these are the completion photos of where we're at, of the buildings, the classrooms, everything back in its place, and the very, very large fan for the NPR.
Right, yeah. Not interfering with basketball at all.
It depends on if the basketballs want to interfere with the fan. We were out. No. So for Del Rey, same thing here. This is the beginning of construction during demolition, removing the ceilings for the installation, removing concrete for new walkways. Again, also new upgrades of the walls of the admin building, and then the windows and some of the walkways coming out in various classrooms. Next slide. The new windows going into the NPR, as well as the hallway and restroom upgrades. You'll see some of the new paint going in. And then the finished product of the new restroom upgrades, walkways, new paint. I'm sure everybody has seen the refreshed look of most of the campuses now. So all of the paint will now match the Sleepy Hollow NPR was the template for the paint for all of the elementary school campuses. And then moving on to OIS, the Student Services Building was the template for the paint at the rest of the campus at OIS. So this would be the demolition there. It's behind the 60s wing and the 70s wing. And then the restroom at the 60s, exterior doors, windows, and the walkway between the 60s and the 50s wing right there being pulled up as part of the modernization. And then progress of the work of the new doors going in, the new mold resistant restroom drywall, and clear story windows. Then finally, the final paint job, the new restrooms, the new look of the windows that all operate very simply. So those are the three campuses. Were there any questions about the modernization work that's taken place so far on the first three campuses?
Looks great.
Yeah. It's really visible at OIS when you,
You can look at, you can see
Yeah, right.
the before and after.
yes.
I mean, all the comments I'm getting from people are, why can't we do this at Miramani?
Yeah.
You could have a bond.
We do keep getting it about Miramani.
Yeah.
And then additionally, we did help manage some of the non-bond projects over the summer. Some that Superintendent Gumi spoke about initially, the parent club projects, and then additionally some additional projects that Stuart and the maintenance team have taken on over the summer. So first one on the books is the garden terrace. So these are some of the photos that we got in a couple of the
There's
drone
the drones.
photos. So there's all the children.
You know what I like about the bottom one is the entire student bodies in that garden.
And
For the ribbon cutting. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but this was a considerable task, as was spoken about because of the hillside and the soil and the amount of earthwork that was required. But it got done and it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And it was a great help to have Matt McKim was his contracting company. McKim Construction was the contractor for this. Pulled from, I don't believe, Stuart, have you worked with McKim before?
Yeah, McKim did the Path of Travel last year for Wagner Ranch. Contractors that did that work.
So we had worked with him previously with several other school districts in the Bay Area, and he joined the pool of contractors here at Orinda Union, and he continues to be an asset.
Great.
Wagner Ranch.
There's the picture of the exit.
There it is. Could have included that, yeah.
And some of the dry rot repair in the corners, and a nice shiny gym floor.
New gutter. Yeah.
Crystal clear.
Also with the Bass Building at Glorieta.
Bass Building B at Glorieta. All that dry rot was caused by a leaky gutter that was just never addressed. So It's just so much better to try and take care of things as they happen, so it doesn't compound.
How old was that portable? Or is
I'm
it-
sorry?
How old is that portable?
It's old.
Pretty old.
We have the new Del Rey SDC portable. And this one kind of goes beginning, middle, and end, left to right. You can see the original demo, the other ball wall. The trenching for the utilities, that's in the third row, that is where the portable is delivered, and then the final finished photos on the right. And then, of course, the Del Rey playground. As you can see, there was considerable amount of grading and earthwork done. There was some work to get all of the compaction to meet requirements. So the major improvements here were the fact that whenever we do something on a school, the ADA becomes a concern, the path of travel and accessibility. So there was a considerable amount of work to make sure that the blacktop there was very much smooth and level. Right, that's all there is.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of work over the summer, and we plan to do it all over again next summer. So,
Hey.
but there were quite a few lessons learned. We were quite aware of a few things. There were some unforeseen conditions that we didn't, as typical with construction projects, that we weren't aware of, like some of the ground. The soils in this area, as we all know, is relatively soft and it tends to shift with earthquakes or movement of anything. So some of the windows were, or some of the studs and parts of the buildings were a little bit out of plumb. So the windows didn't go in perfectly straight, but now we're well aware of it. We can plan for it the next time. Additionally, there was some hazmat that had to be remediated in some of the rooms that we didn't foresee previously. That was all easily addressed, however, and now we have more information to work on for the following summer.
Yeah, it's kind of, sorry to tack on there. Vincent mentioned the proactive approach we're taking now with a lot of the investigation with the lessons learned. That is ongoing. The contractor and their subs are out doing investigations to try and make sure that identify areas where we can actually get ahead of. Maybe we can get in and get some of the work done over spring break, things like that. We're hopeful that Wagner Ranch not being quite as old as the other schools, less unforeseen conditions, and then maybe a little more straightforward and take some of the burden off.
I know there was some weariness originally that we had, that we awarded a contract to the sole bidder of the project, but ultimately, one of the reasons we've had such a low utilization of the contingency is we've had a very collaborative environment working with both Rodan and the architects in the field on almost daily basis during the summer, trying to address issues in the field and work through issues in the most cost-effective manner. As to not delay the project, as that was the primary goal, was to prevent any delays at all, to make sure school opened on time. But it has been a very good experience working with both HKIT and Rodan on this project.
Vince, on the Del Rey, one of the questions that we keep getting is about the trees.
Which ones?
The other, for the main.
In the
playground.
main
Main
playgrounds,
playground.
yeah.
So the issue
Would
that
you
we-
mind just letting us, giving us an update, the board an update on that?
The main playground and, sorry, the parking lot where the lunch tables are as well, those.
Yes, so we'll start with the main playground trees. Those were supposed to be replanted right at the edge of the playground. However, that whole area was asphalt underneath the bark. So once you cleared it all, we couldn't get enough depth to actually plant the trees without going too far into the playground itself and impacting the path of travel for the kids inside the playground. So a solution was devised to place them just outside of the playground on that large curve that surrounds it, where the three tetherball courts are. So we were going to cut into the asphalt and place 3 planters there for the 3 trees that are supposed to go there. Unfortunately, we just couldn't do that as school starting the next week. So we're working on a time to get the contractors back in to cut those planters in. So those are still slated to go in. For the trees in the parking lot out front, the main issue there was part of the reason they had to be taken out was, I don't know if you remember the pavers and that walkway was basically, it looked like a twister. And so in order to get all of that flat and conforming to what the state required, those trees had to be removed. And at this time, unfortunately, since it was never planned for them to be removed, the plan to put them back in has to be flushed out with both the state and the architects trying to figure out where we can put them, where they won't impact both path of travel and future problems with them, the roots basically moving up the concrete and the pavers, which if you see out there now, the entire section of pavers for that whole seating area was redone. So everything's nice and flat now. So the concern would be if we placed a tree anywhere in that side, that it would basically lift all the pavers up again. So we're trying to determine where they can be placed on the parking lot side without obstructing or removing any parking spaces, but we haven't determined where those could go yet.
And I might add that we did get an arborist report on that. The trees that were removed were at the end of their useful life. So they were starting to fail anyway. For safety, they needed to come out.
Has there been any conversation about, at Glorietta, there's the field over by the Basque building that just had the dry rot repaired, that is now not even really a field anymore.
Just dead.
It was parking lot this summer, and just, has there been discussion about what we're gonna do with that?
Well, the site had a lot of discussion. There was a discussion between should that be grass, should it be just blacktopped, should it be turf? And there's a lot of disagreement of what that should be.
Not to mention all the water at that site drains across that. So even if we were going to maintain like a synthetic field, just the drainage portion of that would be incredible. So there's anything that we're going to do to it gets compounded with making sure that we're getting that water shed where it belongs.
So there has to be something
Something
done.
has to be done there, so.
We have to, yeah. I mean, right now it's really bad, but I think hopefully with some rain, it will get better, or mud.
It might just be mud.
But there is some disagreement amongst some planning committees. Yes.
Will campuses be closed at those 3 sites, just how they were closed last summer? So like, will the NPR at Wagner be off limits the whole summer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it should follow roughly the same pattern that it was this year. We will work with the district and the city to close down activities at those 3 campuses and restrict access to them so that the construction can occur.
This is just up for discussion. Any other questions? Any public comment?
No public comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're going to help out with
Oh, that's right.
you're gonna-
Couldn't get away.
Okay. Chair, please.
Yes, Terraphase Engineering had a contract out for water testing at Sleepy Hollow for the water that was supplying the basketball pool. So over the summer, we were trying to address some irrigation issues and determine sources of water from the NPR projects. And what was ultimately determined was that domestic water was supplying the field in the back, which it should be specifically on the irrigation side. So with that mix up, that water had to be separated from the domestic water line and then placed on the irrigation water meter on a separate line. So during that work, the lines were open and exposed, which means that the drinking water line was underground and opened and exposed. So whenever that occurs, you generally want to perform testing on the water to make sure that there was no contamination entering it. Unfortunately, since that was outside of the scope of the testing itself was outside the scope of work with Saucil, it was taken upon by the district to perform the testing, as we didn't want to add any additional contracts or change order work onto Saucil's side as to further complicate that issue. So this testing was performed to verify, in an abundance of caution, just to verify that there was no contamination in the water at the gas portables following the work, which the test came back clean and the water is back on and everything's fine.
Any questions? This is up for action. Any public question?
No problem.
Okay. If I could have a motion, please.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the Terraphase engineering contract.
This is Vanita, I second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, and next we have notice of completion for summer 24 district-wide technology upgrades.
Yes, Kevin.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben.
So you'll recall that MDC performed significant technology upgrades for network upgrades at 4 of the sites, as well as PA upgrade at Glorietta and security camera upgrades at all the sites. This is seeking an approval for an issuance of a notice of completion for that work. And so, yeah, that's up for your approval.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
This is up for action. Any questions or comments from the board? If I can have the motion, please.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the notice of completion for summer 2024 district-wide technology upgrades. It's Katie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And notice of completion, Communication Tech Services Inc., Stuart.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Either one of us. So this is
It's ours.
ends up taking it to the county for the official
Yeah.
approval, but I can speak to it. So you will recall that at the Sleepy Hollow NPR and the OIS Student Services Building, the new construction resulted in substandard or impacted cell service and sorry.
We're all just.
Negative impact is to the already challenging cell service dynamics, as everybody who's been in Orinda knows, this is a challenging time to get cell service. CTS was contracted to install its cell booster at each of these sites to improve cell service. So this is a notice of completion for that project.
Do the cell phones work now?
We have observed
Okay.
improved service.
And it doesn't matter what provider you have?
That's right. So our early mitigation attempt was like vendor specific. So we had an AT&T booster and a Verizon booster. This booster is much more robust and is service provider agnostic.
Is it in place now?
It is,
Okay.
but it only benefits.
I was asked by staff. I was asked by staff about it like a week ago, so it should work. It should work. Should it work then? Or?
It should be functional. So now it is worth noting that it only benefits those buildings. So you're not going to observe benefits to Sleepy Hollow writ large.
No, this was in the Bass building, actually, in particular.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, you wouldn't have seen it in that.
That's a whole- Oh, so you want to see in the
This
Bass
was for this is for the NPR, because we had no cell service in
At
the
all.
NPR.
Right, right. To improve cell
Apples to
service
services.
campus-wide would be a much larger scope of a project.
Interesting, okay, all right.
And is the NPR for emergency services or
That was,
services?
that is the shelter-based location, and it effectively was performing like a Faraday cage and blocking any kind of cell service in and out. So since it is the shelter-in-place location during, and this is obviously a very fire-affected region, we want to make sure that we have cell service and maintain limitations.
And student services building at OIS is the command center,
Right.
which you also need. That's where the 911s are called and communication. You also need cell services there from.
And the benefits of the booster would again be limited to that building specifically. The goal of this project was not to increase cell service across campus, it was to increase cell service at its critical new
But
buildings.
we'll follow up with.
And can you remind us at the other campuses besides, in addition to OIS, will we have to do this for certain?
No, this was really triggered by the new buildings. So the, steel frame structure exacerbated already existing poor cell service conditions. So it became much more noticeable as these buildings came online. The OS admin saying, I can't make a call, I have to step outside to make calls.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, this is up for action. We could have a motion if there are no additional questions or comments.
Go ahead. This is Katie. I move that we approve the notice of completion for work improvement by Communication Tech Services for the cell booster system at Elementary School and Orinda Intermediate School.
This is Hillary, I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And lastly, the notice of completion, Kevin and Sullivan Associates, Inc.
This is for the mechanical piping and controls upgrades that we did at Sleepy Hollow. They went, one of the smoother jobs that we did. It's complete. Very happy with the finished product and the work that the contractor did. We recommend to approve the notice of completion.
Thank you, Stuart. Any public comment?
No public comment.
This is up for action. Any questions or comments from the board? So moved.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the notice of completion for Kevin M. Sullivan and Associates, Inc.
See if I second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Going on to our action items in public hearing. Item 8A, National Hispanic Heritage Month resolution. Can you share a little bit about it?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, so we have, starting today is our National Hispanic and Latina Heritage Month. And we're excited to bring you this resolution and recognize the month. I will actually ask Sarah to share a little bit about some of the work that we have, that the curriculum committee, offshoot of the committee, has done so that we can make sure and have resources in all of our classrooms.
So we started the work towards building resources for all of these adopted heritage months last year through our equity committee, and then through a subcommittee, and then in the summer through some teachers who came to join us in June for collaborative sessions together. They could sign up to build lessons as well. We've been able to build out resources for just about every grade level was represented. We still have some areas in the upper grades and at OAS where we need to work on for this year, building those resources out. But for this month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, we have a lesson designed by OUSD teachers for every grade TK through 4. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, we provided some great resources from Brentwood and from some other things, asking every teacher to engage in a lesson between now and October 15th when it's celebrated. And I've already got teachers reaching out saying, I have this idea, can I try this? It's really sparking some good conversation. And most of the things are centered around read-alouds, honoring the cultural heritage or significant figures in Hispanic culture.
Yeah, our idea was always that we don't want these resolutions just to be read at the board meetings. We also want to make sure that all of our work is recognized in classrooms throughout the district, especially throughout the month, and then that becomes woven through our culture throughout the year. So when we saw this being done in other districts, where we really can build these resources, built by our teachers, for our teachers, and making sure that we put resources in the classrooms. It was really great work done by our staff and with Sarah. So, and it's truly work done, with our equity lens and spreading through our classrooms. So it's not just the resolution being read at the board meeting. So, but with that, it starts with a resolution and a commitment from the board and the administration and a commitment that we will do this work in our classrooms. So.
I might just add, I can share with you all, we've decided on objectives. That was part of the work last year. What's like the unifying theme? What are we trying to achieve and help students understand in Orinda Union with these Heritage Months? So I'll just read off to you the objective for each grade level band. So for K2, the goal is I can learn about myself and others and celebrate the many ways people, families, and communities are alike and different. For grades 3 through 5, it's I can explore and appreciate the diverse identities, histories, and contributions of communities within and beyond my own. And for OIS, our middle schoolers, I can analyze how different communities, cultures, and identities have shaped and continue to influence our world. So it's a nice progression of really rooted in our history, social science curriculum.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Anita, if you will start us off.
Whereas Orinda Union School District is honored to join members of our community and citizens throughout the U.S. in recognizing September 15th, 2025 as the start of the National Hispanic and Latin Heritage Month, and
Whereas Hispanic Heritage Week began in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan
and enacted into law in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th, the day which represents the anniversary of independence for 5 Latin American countries. And
Whereas during the 2025 National Hispanic and Latina Heritage Month, we honor the significant contributions made and the important presence of Latinos in the United States and the Orinda Union School District, and celebrate the richness of Hispanic and Latina heritage and culture. And
Whereas the Federal Census Bureau estimates the Hispanic and Latino population in the United States is the largest ethnic minority, with over 60 million people, or 18.5% of the American population, and over 15 million people, or 40.4% of the population in the state of California. And
Whereas Hispanic and Latina Americans make up 27% of Contra Costa County's adult population, 4% of OUSD's employees, and 8% of the OUSD student population during the 24-25 school year. And
Whereas the district has committed to eliminating barriers to achievement within the district and to identify and correct practices and policies that negatively influence student learning, perpetuate opportunity gaps, and impede equal access to opportunities for all students. And
whereas district curriculum development seeks to introduce multiple perspectives into the curriculum and to include more diverse texts. And
whereas our staff will provide educational programs and teachers will make an effort to integrate Hispanic and Latina history into the curriculum this month and beyond. And
whereas acknowledging the courageous fight for the rights, liberties, and freedoms of all Americans, the Orinda Union School District Board of Trustees encourages educators, students, and families to learn about Hispanic Heritage History Month and the heritage and achievements of Hispanic and Latin Americans. And
therefore be it resolved that the Orinda Union School District Board of Trustees do hereby adopt this resolution to honor September 15th, 2025 through October 15th, 2025 with Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. Thank you for bringing that, and thank you for also signifying how many, what our student population demographic makeup is. I think that's very important for everyone to understand why it's so important that we're doing this. Yep. Any other comments?
I just wanted to add a thank you just for all the work that you've been doing with our staff to, really take this beyond just a resolution.
All right, this item is up for action. You can have a motion.
this is. I move that we approve Resolution 26-07, National Hispanic Heritage Month.
I'll second. This is Hillary.
Trustee Montavant? Aye. Trustee Weiner?
Aye.
Trustee Phillips?
Aye.
Vice President Shogun? Aye. President Williams-Coleman?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And we have our next resolution, Week of the School Administrator. Brian.
All right. California Education Code states that in observance of the importance of educational leadership at the school, district, and county levels, the second full week in the month of October of each year shall be designated as Week of the School Administrator. With that, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our hardworking superintendent, principals, associate principals, my fellow directors, for all they do for our students every day. It's their dedication and teamwork that makes this district a place where students thrive and truly a great place to work. With that, you have the resolution.
Thank you. Any public comment?
no public comment.
Any comments or anything from the board before we read the resolution? Anita.
whereas leadership matters for the Orinda Union School District and the almost 2,700 students we serve.
Whereas Orinda Union School District administrators are skilled, dedicated, reflective, lifelong learners who believe in the value of quality public education whereby diversity, equity, and inclusion practices are recognized and celebrated. And
Whereas the title school administrator is a broad term used to define many education leadership positions, from our superintendent to our directors, principals, and associate principals, all shall be celebrated through this resolution. And
Whereas providing a quality educational experience that inspires, engages, and supports all students is paramount for our district. And
Whereas the average site administrator has served in public education for more than a decade. Most of California's superintendents and district office administrators have served in education for more than 15 years. Such experience is critical in their work to effectively and efficiently lead our schools and improve student learning. And
Whereas public schools operate with lean management systems. Across the nation, public schools employ fewer managers and supervisors than most public and private sector industries. And
Whereas educational research shows great school districts are led by great superintendents and directors, and great schools are led by great principals and site administrators. And
Whereas the state of California has declared the second full week of October as the week of the school administrator, and
Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees do hereby adopt this resolution to commemorate October 12th through 18th as Week of the Orinda Union School District Administrator and recognize the outstanding leadership that our administrative team brings to our schools and district.
You're here. No, really.
Well, thank you, Brian, for bringing this. Thank you. And I just want to also acknowledge all of our directors in there. Thank you so much for such a hard work. It's a very small and very mighty team. When you say it's our curriculum team, it's right there. It's our maintenance team, it's right there. Our special ed team. I mean, there's really literally a team of one. I'm joking. It's right there. Our IT team is right there. So, sorry, I can only see what's in front of me. Of course. It is, and then our school administrators, I mean, it is, our schools are only getting bigger. The jobs are just getting, larger. And, I truly appreciate for all the work. I did say HR and CPO.
Comments, discussion?
just thank you for all of your dedication and hard work.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing this to.
Yes, and we see it each and every day and all the time. So we really appreciate all that you do.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So this is up for action. This is up for action if I can have a motion.
This is Benita. I move that we approve resolution number 26-5, week of the school administrator, October 12th to the 18th, 2025.
go for it. This is Eve, I second.
Trustee Leader.
Aye.
Trustee Nomura. Aye. Trustee Phillips.
Aye.
Vice President Shogun.
Aye.
President Holmes-Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You all are fine.
We may not bring this one again.
Moving on to 24-25 unaudited actuals financial report, Mika.
All right.
So this is for prior year unaudited actuals. Throughout the year, we talk about budget, and this is the time we talk about actual, how it ended. To close the book, we have to pay all the invoices and bill everyone. And then after that, we need to accrue the revenue and expenditure and balance the book. And also, we need to make sure the maintenance of effort is met. Classroom spending is up to the level. Those things are all done. And this needs to be completed and reported to the county office by September 15th, which is today. The first slide shows the combined revenue, unrestricted and restricted revenue. 62% is coming from the state. 1% is from the federal. This is pretty much special ed grants and also Title II. Title II pays for the teachers' PD. Special ed grants paid for the IAs. And that's the red part, 1%. Green part is the state revenue. This is like a lottery, art and music, instructional material, money. That's the 8% green part. 29%, the purple part is coming from the local. And this part is the pie chart on the left side shows what consists of this 29%. Parcel tax is coming about 13%, and parent donation is 11%, and other things are about 5%. That's a purple part. And we have a little bit of less than 1%, 0.2% that's coming from IRS tax subsidy. That's for solar panel. So that is making up Orinda's revenue. So the next table shows the combined revenue. The first column shows the estimated actual. This was done back in May. That was estimated.
And the middle column is the actuals. And the last column shows the difference. So overall, we have 653,000 of revenue increase. And we'll talk about it, unrestricted and restricted separate. It was about 1.5% increase. So next one shows the unrestricted revenue. First of all, you see 217,000 increase. And this is actually coming from, so when we were reconciling the liability account, we came across some transaction from 21-22 that was not recorded. So we recorded it. So we had the cash, but it was not reflected in the book. So that increased the actuals. It was the accrual thing. It was recorded in 1 year and it was supposed to be reversed in next year so that we don't double reduce the revenue. But this part was not recorded, so it was double reduced. So we booked the missing transaction, which kind of increased the revenue. The little bit increase in the extended school year, the ADA went up, so the 24-25 LCF revenue went up a little bit. State increased 50,000. This is coming from LPAC, English Language Proficient of California. And this one, we don't really know when we receive it. We received this money, this was from 22-23. So not even last year or 2 years ago, it was 22-23. Local money increased, so facility use fee, it was, we received more than how trend was showing throughout the year. So it was a good news, we received a little more. And interest was more, we thought the interest rate would go down, but it actually stayed pretty strong. So we have some additional money. And the contribution has big difference, and this will, we will talk about it when we talk about expenditure. Expenditure move resulted in reduction of contribution from unrestricted to restricted funds. So next one shows the restricted revenues. 19,000, little less in the federal purpose, general purpose revenues. Federal revenue, it didn't change that much. State revenue, 176,000 increase. This is including EDOP money, and it was not included in budget because this is not really our money. We are sending back to the state, but because this is actuals, it was included. And we couldn't set up the payables because we are not sure how much it will be until 24-25 audit is done. Other thing was lottery rate went up. We don't receive the final lottery rate until August. And that was $82. It went up to $86. And that made a difference. And also the summer classified employee summer assistant program, it was increased in July as well. Local revenues, 310,000. Special ed entitlement is part of it. And it was increased with the ADA increase because the AB 602 is calculated based on the district-wide ADA. So when it goes up, this one goes up too. And also SELPA released some excess money from previous years that we are in the coalition and it was not fully spent. And after they close the book and everything, if there's excess, they release it to the district. And also the capital outlay money from the parent club that increased as well. And the contribution, this amount is reciprocating to unrestricted side, the movement. So contribution was reduced by 800,000. Any questions so far? Next one shows the expenditure. Again, this is combined, unrestricted and restricted. Orinda has 81%, the blue and red part that shows the total of salary and benefits. It's about 81%. Back in 22-23, it was 81%. 23-24 went up to 84%. And now back down to 81. That's pretty good. 81% is good percentage. Green part is supplies, textbooks, Chromebooks, those things. Purple part is, it says other operating expenditures, 13%. This includes like contract, utilities, internet services, field trips, legal cost, insurance premium payment. Those are all part of this purple area. Capital outlay 1%, other outgo 2%. This is the payment to other district or county office of it. The next table shows the combined expenditure. Combined, the total expenditure decreased by 500,000. This is about 1% of our expenditure budget. So let's look at them separately. So before we talk about this, I want to talk about special ed maintenance effort. That is a requirement that district has to spend more than the previous period, and in total and per pupil. And this, because it's a comparison, it's better to keep the gross minimum so that following year, the base comparison is not too high. So the service provided doesn't change, but it's an accounting thing. And by reclassifying the existing expenditure from special ed goal to unrestricted goal, we can keep the comparison base under control. Because when it doesn't meet, the penalty is really hard. It's pretty huge. And identifying it was not special ed goal to special ed goal is much harder than reclassifying special ed goal to unrestricted goal, if that makes sense.
Because sometimes improving services in special education actually leads to savings in funding. And then, so us improving services, like reducing contracts, using our own SSAs, not outsourcing to other districts, improves services and reduces expenses. But due to this maintenance of effort, we wouldn't be allowed to reduce expenses. So it's really so we want to classify them as special ed for tracking purposes throughout the year, but it's an accounting, like how do you make sure you don't get stuck with high expenses is what we're trying to do.
Right. So throughout the year, special ed department keep track of changes. Like Aida said, spending more money doesn't necessarily mean we are providing more
Actually,
services.
Mean worse.
So instead of contracting out, if we hire special ed assistant, we are providing better service, but the cost is actually going down. So those are the things.
The maintenance of effort is an interesting law.
But again, when we don't meet, the penalty is really steep and it is difficult to meet when we don't have expenditure that we
So
can.
then, Mika, so just to explain that So then this is that what the contribution change?
Yes.
Then is, okay. So moving from restricted to unrestricted, that's why you see these swings.
Yes. So if it was staying in restricted, that much money we contribute to cover. But because we moved it to unrestricted, we didn't have to contribute. Expenditure is still there. It's just we didn't have to contribute it to this side of the house. So that's what you see in this table. Salary and benefit, you see 314 and 67,000. And some are from services too. So we moved some certificated, classified, and some contract from special ed goal to unrestricted goal. So if you look at the next page, you will see the decrease in these areas. So now books and supplies, unrestricted side, it was about 150,000 less spent than we anticipated. This is coming from like school site budget. It was not fully spent. Some rebate, no, that's services. So those are supplies. And the services increased by 156,000. Partially it's special ed, MOE, maintenance of effort result. But some are electricity bill came in higher. We pay throughout the year estimated amount. And then in July, end of July and August, we received the true up. So when solar is working and not doing the construction, it was stable. But then we removed it, tried to connect it. And so that was, the true up was less than we anticipated. So it came in higher. Yeah, that's those two. And that was unrestricted funds. And when you go to the restricted funds, you see the salary in certificated, classified, some in services. Books and supply in restricted side was a little bit lower. Services, some were moved to the unrestricted side, but also the special ed spending was less than anticipated. That was because some, we have been working with other district and we were going through the bills and it was misbilled. So during the summer, it was worked out, communicated and corrected. So it came in lower. Some shift in non-public schools. Some were done in July. ESY was in July instead of June. And some repairs at MNO, that was done in July and August instead of June. Some site capital project that was moved from service to capital outlay. So you see the increase in capital outlay. So that was revenue and expenditure. So in summary, revenue increased by 650,000 and expenditure decreased by 500,000. So the net increase decrease, we anticipated 1.5, but because the revenue went up, expenditure went down, our net decrease was 400,000. And this is the great news. Ending fund balance, $7 million. This, sorry, I'm looking at the note. Sorry, the 7 million, this is including 1.3 million in restricted fund, instead of 950,000 in restricted. So after 9% on and assigned, unassigned is 26,000. And in 24-25, we were not deficit spending. Next slide shows other funds, including general fund. General fund ending fund balance was 7.1 million. Cafeteria fund was 640. The deferred maintenance, everything we moved over was fully spent. So now ending fund balance is 0. The building fund 21, major E&I bond fund. On the book, we have 32 million, but most of it was already earmarked. Developer fee fund, that fund, capital facility fund, that has 270,000. Special reserve fund for capital outlay, that has 2.7. Debt service fund has 4 million, and BASC has 82,000 ending fund balance, and trust fund has about 2 million. So in summary, revenue increased with different things, the correction to 21-22, ADA increase, and some state money from 22-23. Multiple things, lottery rate increase, that increased some, how much was that? Sorry. It increased 650,000. And expenditure decreased in special education in various areas. This, we were anticipating some behavior contract, but then IEP changed or needs changed. So ended up having less expenditure. Reclassification of special ed transaction from restricted to unrestricted decreased the contribution significantly. So now revenue and expenditure will be updated in 25-26. Now we have all the new employees in the system. So we will update it and bring it to you at the first interview.
Very comprehensive. Thank you. Thank you. Questions, comments? This is up for action, so I know we have questions and comments before we vote on the action.
2 questions. You mentioned that there was a correction from 21-22, some transactions. So do you have to inform auditors or, I mean, what's the process when something like money suddenly appears?
It's better than the opposite.
Yes, 100%.
That was more of, I need to check with them, but it's clerical error and it's more of a closing accrual process. So I don't have the answer.
And then the second question, reclassifying special ed budget to unrestricted from restricted. Is that just something you can just do? It's like, what's the process?
Yes, we can do it. Other way around is.
So you can't go back.
No, well, not like go back, but if it was unrestricted expenditures, we cannot switch to
Restrict.
special ed goal.
Okay, so now you cannot go, you can't bring, like in a year or two, like say you wanted to make it restricted, you couldn't.
Cool.
Well, this is closed now.
Yes,
So that- Okay,
we don't usually go back to.
okay.
I don't have any specific questions. I mean, as always, you do such a thorough job presenting it, but you appreciate
Yeah, I appreciate all that for the special ed piece, because I think that's the most complicated part about the changes that are here. So thanks for that, but otherwise, as usual, all your numbers are exactly the same all along, so it's what I expected.
Thank you.
Do you think the money that we had to give back to the state will happen again in the future again, or is that just a?
25-26 should be the last year.
Okay.
If you want money.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's money. Yeah. 176 or whatever it was.
That they give us and then we have to give back.
Give back.
Hopefully we just don't get it in the future.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, hopefully we get it and we don't,
Yeah,
and
give it
we
back.
have to give it back. But as
In order-
opposed to going
yeah.
back and forth, yeah.
In order to have that money, we have to provide 90 days of non-school day for 9 hours a day for 90 days. So once we do that, then yes, we can keep.
30 days beyond instruction right now, yeah.
Oh, did I say 90 days? I'm sorry.
A lot of days. That's okay, 30 days is a lot of days. Really, the ELOP money would not cover what we would have to offer. We would have to be encroaching into the general fund for us to offer the services that ELOP mandates due to the size of our district. That's our issue.
Thank you. All right, this is up for action. If we can have a motion to approve the 24-25 unaudited actuals financial report.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the 2024-25 unaudited actual financial report.
This is Vanita, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mika. And we have the 2604 adopting the GAN limits.
So this is annual resolution. We are not supposed to spend too much money. And for 24-25, we are within, we didn't exceed the limit. So the, just for the resolution for 25-26.
Pretty straightforward. Thank you. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, this is up for action. If we could have a motion to adopt the resolution.
Katie, I move that we approve resolution 25-04 adopting the GAN limit.
26.
Sorry.
2604.
2604.
Oh, but it's wrong at the top then.
It's 2504.
We'll do 26.
Yeah.
Okay, that we approve resolution 2604, GAN limit resolution.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Trustee Anantavat. Aye. Trustee Weiner. Aye. Trustee Phillips.
Aye.
Vice President Shogun. Aye. President Collins-Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Mika.
In quick 42 clicks, we will edit that.
I know.
All right, the resolution 2606 deficiency of instructional materials there.
And this is a public hearing.
Okay.
So this is a resolution that ensures that all of our students have access to sufficient instructional materials, textbooks, digital resources, whether in class or at home. And this resolution is brought forth saying that we do, so we ask that you approve it, ensuring that we do have a sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for all of our students.
And is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, we just need a motion to approve the 2606 resolution.
This is Vanita. I move that we approve resolution number 2606, sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for the 25-26 school year.
I'll second. This is Hillary.
Trustee Anantavat.
Aye.
Trustee Weiner.
Aye.
Trustee Phillips.
Aye.
Vice President Shogun.
Aye.
President Collins-Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Close public hearing. All right, annual goals.
Okay. All right, the board meets every year to examine your annual goals, and we met on August 22nd during the governance workshop and drafted the attached goals. Send those off for any feedback and or any last minute edits. Of course, these are drafts, so you can also provide edits right now or changes. So
I'll just say I appreciated the opportunity to, get together during the workshop and work through this collaboratively. That was a great meeting.
Yeah, agree. One of my favorite meetings.
Yes.
I will say. All right, is there any public comment at all?
no public comment.
This is up for action, so you just need a motion, please.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the IUSD Board of Trustees 2025-26 goals.
This is Eva, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next action item, Board of Trustees handbook.
Okay, so we updated the goals in there, but the board also met and did quite a bit of a revision around the board protocol. So I know Hillary and Katie took in the input from during the workshop, met as a subcommittee, and we also shared those out last week. There was just a couple minor updates since then, but also happy to make any edits here if there's any discussion or something.
Just, this is page 11, there's an extra space that I saw. It wasn't just on my computer, at the bottom of around 4B. Yeah, oh, it's fixed. This is like an extra space. Right?
Oh, a space between A and B.
I'm sorry, between that school site paragraph and 4 elementary schools. There should be a space between those two paragraphs.
How added.
It would read
Like a
better
line
if it was
spacing.
Yeah, it's a line space.
Oh, got it.
And then I just had a question about page 13, item 6B. If we could have I know we talked about it in our workshop, but just wanted to talk about with intention and purpose, you know, understanding what that item was all about and the intent behind it, so we're all very clear. Because it should be, you know, whomever is board president at the time. And then it should always come to the president to discuss. And then so folks can understand what's happening, and then the board president, you know, it's kind of like a domino effect, but I just wanted to pull that out just to chat about briefly here.
You're talking about the one relating to education and superintendent? Is that which one you're talking about?
6B. Well, yeah.
Is the concern that should only say board president because informing two people might be a problem? Or is it just?
Yes,
not
that was
wanting
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
to? Okay. I mean,
Because then it's a brown eye.
Right, yeah, brown
Yeah,
so I probably should
violation.
just say board
Thank you.
president.
Yeah.
I have no problem removing vice president
Yeah,
there. That's
same.
fine.
I'm trying to remember what the intent was
It
when
was
this
the-
was originally.
I remember we
there.
had the conversation, but I was like, is that a?
Yeah, I actually don't remember talking about this at our workshop, but I'm just trying to remember when this was written, which was. before
Maybe
my
if there is no,
time.
if the board president
I
is
think it was,
unavailable.
if there was an issue with the board president, but
Well, it
It
should
still
still
should go to the-
or, right? If there in
should
fact
be
was,
and.
it shouldn't be and or.
Yeah,
Just
just
be or.
Right.
Would that be,
only if board president
If
is
the
not
board
available.
president's not available.
Right.
Yeah.
we could add that.
Like comma, if the board president.
Or vice president if the
If the board president,
president's
yeah,
unavailable.
I think that was what the original intent was.
That was it from my end.
And then hopefully the changes that Katie and I made otherwise
Yeah,
reflected
they
in
were-
everybody's.
subcommittee.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, those are all separate.
All like 20 pages. Yeah.
We should, I'm glad we reviewed this. I think that we made some helpful clarifications.
Yeah. All right, this is up for action. Any public comment?
No public
All
comment.
right, if I could have a motion, please.
All right, this is Hillary. I move that we approve the governance handbook as amended.
It's Katie, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, OEA proposal on collective bargaining topic. Dr. English.
Public hearing.
Oh, okay. Here.
Thank you. All initial collective bargaining agreement proposals between a bargaining union and a school district must be sunshined or shared with the public prior to the commencement of negotiations. And what you have before you is Orinda Education Association's 25-26 request to reopen collective bargaining agreements for the current year. They are proposing article regarding teaching hours, class size, employee benefits, and salaries. Staff recommends that the board conduct a public hearing and accept OEA's collective bargaining proposal for 25-26.
Thank you. And any public comment?
No comments.
Closing the hearing. All right, this is recommended for action. If I can have a motion, please.
This is Hillary. I move that the board accept OEA's collective, sorry, I'm finding the language here, collective bargaining proposal for the 2025-26 school year.
This is Eve, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And moving on to item I, another public hearing. Dr. Inglesby.
Yes, what you have before you is the district's proposal for 25-26 collective bargaining negotiation topics with OEA. And we have teaching hours, evaluation for certificate employees, and employee benefits and salary. Our first day that we have agreed on for upcoming negotiations is 2 weeks from now, September 29th. Staff recommends that the board conduct a public hearing and approve the district's collective bargaining proposal with OEA for 25-26 school year.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
Closing the hearing. Any questions, comments from the board?
No. This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the district's collective bargaining proposal for the 2025-26 school year.
This is Kate, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 9A, these are discussion items. Kevin, instructional technology update.
Okay, so,
Hi, Kevin.
hi.
We're excited to hear about technology.
How's it going over there?
So I'm here to present just an overview of instructional technology in the district. Next slide, please. So I wanted to start with giving a sense of how instructional technology fits into the broader tech department. So instructional technology, which is really, as you may recall, is really where I come from in terms of my own background. I'm a teacher by training. I worked as a technology TOSA for 5 years and then moved into this role with a lens on instructional technology. So in this district, instructional technology takes the shape of professional development, policy around technology usage, student and staff accounts, digital citizenship, preparation obviously for CASP. So that's a huge component of what the tech department does and what hopefully I'm bringing to the table in this revisioned version of this role. The other components are managing projects. So as you know, we just passed a notice of completion for the network upgrades project. So that's a huge part of what the technology department does in terms of managing these huge projects, making sure that we are keeping an eye on the infrastructure and maintaining it and upgrading when possible. And of course, obviously, with any tech department, another huge piece is IT. So in this district, we provide IT support for 350 plus staff and 2,700 students. We also provide network maintenance, hardware inventory maintenance, cybersecurity, and all this is so that the instructional technology works and so that we can make sure that the learning outcomes are, the technology is benefiting the learning outcomes of the students. Next slide, please. Okay. So there are three kind of core systems that undergird all of the instructional technology that we do. Everything starts from ARIES, and ARIES is our student information system. This is where this is the central source for all student-related information. It's where we take attendance, student enrollment, parent data confirmation, report cards, OIS grades, and this is really like the root of everything that we do in terms of instructional technology account provisioning. So the way that it works is that there's a automation that's built into ARIES that once a student or a staff member is entered into ARIES, it creates a Google account for that student or staff member. And that's a big difference from when I started doing this type of work. It used to be all manual, and now it's really much more of a domino effect of things get entered in one place and are managed in one place. And that source data, as long as it's correct, feeds all the downstream apps. So one of the first steps in that is Google Admin. So Google Admin is the console that we use to manage accounts for students and staff. So once the
data is entered into Aries, a Google account is created, and it automatically slots them into the correct org unit. The way the accounts work is that students go into one distinct set of org units and suborgs, and staff go into another set, and then permissions and apps are provisioned as appropriate for these different sets. So obviously staff get a set of apps and permissions that are different from what a student might get. And then even within the students, lower graders get a more restrictive set of apps than what an 8th grader would get. So at the same time, there is also provisioning Clever, which is another one of our core systems. So what Clever does, it's a portal and it's a portal for access for instructional technology for both students and staff. So again, when I started in this work over a decade ago, it was much more like, okay, let me export the data into a CSV file, and I'm going to upload it 40 times into all these different apps. And obviously, if there's a change in, a new student, new staff member, it's all manual. Make sure you correct it. And since we've built the Clever automation, all of that is managed and automated based on the data sync from Aries. So it's a much more accurate and efficient system than we had previously. So the way that it works on the end user is that students and staff are able to go to the Clever portal and log in with Google SSO, which for staff, we also have the 2-factor as a double layer of cybersecurity. And then from there, they can log into all the downstream apps that they need access to. So for teachers, they need to get into 95% for phonics and Inquire Ed for social studies. They can click from Clever and get to those different apps. And the same holds true for students, especially as we get into the upper grades. Clever is what they access first when they get into a Chromebook. And from there, they can click into their Google Workspace. They can go to Newsela or whatever app they want to access. So that also has the benefit of students and staff don't have to manage 40-odd login credentials that are distinct from each other. As long as they know the Google credential, they can get into whatever they need. Okay, next slide. All right, so Google Workspace is kind of our hub for productivity for both students and staff. Everybody here is familiar with Google. Obviously, we are a Google district, so we use Google as our main productivity suite. Excuse me. So for communication, obviously, we use Gmail. For the upper graders, they have access to Gmail for send and receive internal only, and that's so we can keep tight control on and prioritize contacting or communicating with staff. And so if a student has trouble with homework or needs to communicate with a teacher, they have Gmail they have Gmail access to do so. But we want to make sure that we keep a tight rein on it so that we don't have phishing and spam and all the other things that might open up if we expanded that access. Students and staff have access to Drive, Docs, Slides, all the other suite. And these are really where where the content creation happens. And when I think of instructional technology, there's kind of two sides of it that I'll get into, but one of the big sides that I like to prioritize is not just passive consumption of curriculum from an app, but really generating content. And that could take the form of an essay that's generated on slide or on docs, presentation that's created on slides. But then as we start to go beyond just replacement level technology and start to augment and redefine what we want as demonstrations of learning, it might take the shape of a movie or a documentary or a podcast, and we'll talk about that later. So a lot of that is rooted in Google Workspace, and a lot of the higher level types of things that the students do in terms of demonstrating learning outcomes happen in Google Workspace, whether that be creation of a website or a creation of a interactive map on My Maps. Google Workspace is kind of at the center of a lot. Okay. So in terms of sort of the broad strokes philosophy, what I think is a really impactful way to frame all of this is the SAMR model. And so the SAMR framework is, which was created by an instructional technology researcher around about 2010. The idea is to provide guidance on instructional technology integration because, technology is a pretty broad topic and there's no shortage of apps. And so to to just tell staff like, hey, technology is useful, so go on ahead, is not sufficient. You want to make sure you give them sort of a guidance in terms of how do I make use of all this technology so that it's impactful and beneficial, and so that it also isn't misused, or, technology, as we know, is also something that can be a distractor and can be, deleterious to educational outcomes. So SAMR stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. And it's kind of broken into two different segments. At the enhancement section, which is substitution and augmentation, it's really, those are our initial stages. And there's a part for all of these. This isn't to say that we should always go for every single assignment. Oh, you got to redefine it. You got to be innovative every single second, because that's not realistic and that's not even appropriate in many cases. So just to take an example, one way that if you think of like a traditional presentation that might have been done when I was a kid as like pencil and paper poster present to the class, substitution would be more like a Google slideshow. So you're doing it digitally, but it's kind of mimicking the same ultimate effect. You're presenting information that people are looking at. When you start to get into augmentation, that's where you're utilizing the technology to, collaborate in a way that maybe wasn't quite possible in a more traditional analog sort of format. So in our example, this would be a slideshow that you're sharing with fellow students, that you're sharing with your teacher, that you're getting kind of an iterative process where you're leaving comments for each other. You're saying, well, have you considered adding X, Y, and Z to slide 5? Things of that nature. So at the transformation stages, this is where you're starting to see really end products that are only possible with technology. So to take our presentation example, rather than creating a slide deck, it might be that the students produce a documentary via WeVideo or Adobe Creative Cloud that they have access to. It might be that they make a podcast or a website. And that's the kind of thing that, there's not really a comparable way that would have been produced. It wouldn't even be something that we would have thought about when, I was going to school. So it's distinct from the end products that we would have seen 20 years ago. And then in redefinition, you're really starting to broaden the audience. So taking that podcast or movie and posting it on the class website for a broader audience to view and provide feedback on. So that's SAMR. And it also is kind of a nice way for me to get kind of take the pulse of how technology integration is happening in the district. If in my walkthroughs I see, a lot of like Google Doc usage, but it's very much traditional, then that gives me feedback on, well, it looks like we are working in the substitution augmentation level, which can be appropriate depending on the task. But it might be that I need to provide more professional development to provide guidance on, okay, how could we take a traditional essay or presentation and start to, change how that might look as an end product. So it's a nice way for me to sort of get a sense of things. Now, I also want to note that I'm not a move fast, break things kind of person. I'm not advocating that every single thing be done via technology. The intention with SAMR and with instructional technology is not to use technology as like a complete replacement for every single instructional practice of the past, some of which are excellent and appropriate. It's rather I would say it's to flip that so that we use technology in ways that are thoughtful and strategic, and not just like, here, go on the computer and do a thing, and absent-mindedly have people consume content. So the other side of instructional technology, which is also important, are, it's 2025, and many of the apps and curriculum tools that we use are web-based and are, in many cases, ebooks only. And so that's just the world that we live in now, which is great in many ways. But it also means that, that account provisioning that we talked about earlier becomes even more critical, because we need to make sure that the students and the staff have access to the apps they need. So in terms of the curriculum apps that we use here in the district, you have a table here, and I won't belabor all of these, but a lot of our core apps that we use here in the district are, or all of them have a an electronic digital component to them, and some of them are exclusively so. So to take an example at Language Arts, we have 95%, and that's the student or the teacher's phonics program. And that's purely accessed via Clever, and then 95% to access the lesson presentations. In math, we have ebooks for Think Central, which is our math expressions adoption for the elementary school. And then we have ebooks for Big Ideas, CPM. We also have supplemental materials. We have an app that we use called Freckle that's more gamified and is used to supplement the math adoptions. We also have our core math assessment, Star Math via Renaissance, and that's accessed via the Clever portal as well. Moving down, FOSS ebooks are available for both elementary and middle school. And in social studies, we have Inquire Ed, which again is kind of akin to 95% in a way. It's entirely online in terms of the lessons the teachers are accessing. And then at the middle school, as you might expect, it's where the students starts to shift from teacher accesses the lesson online and teaches it online to the student is also accessing the material, accessing the ebook, to for example, TCI National Geographic for our social studies adoptions in middle school. And then we have creativity apps that are, can be used across all subject areas. I mentioned Adobe Express, which is a creativity app that has websites that you can produce, flyers that you can produce, podcasts, and really broad-based and excellent program. We also have computer science curriculum that is available from K to 8. And at the middle school, as you know, KOS and video production is a major component of what they do there. So we have WeVideo, which is an online video editor that can be used for all kinds of different subject areas.
Are you able to track usage of these apps?
Yes.
Okay.
So each app has its own usage analytics that you can pull from it. And then Clever kind of gives a holistic look at all of them. And that's
At the end of
actually
the school year, you say, okay, well, we're not really using this app. Let's not pay the licensing fee or renew.
yes. At the end of the year, I host a much dreaded what was used and what was not with leadership team, during which we vet in granularity all of the usage data and decide are we going to continue with a given app or perhaps refine the usage, buy fewer licenses, or expand access.
We have an app draft, like which ones stay?
Kind of picking up on that a little bit. One of the things I think I'd love to see is like, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but like, how do we, there are times in which, making sure the kids have access to these at home would be great, but I will admit, like, I found very inconsistent delivery of the information, like from the teachers, like of what you can get at home and how to access it. And it's sort of more, it feels hard. I'm sure it is hard, but like, is there an easier way to communicate with parents on how to continue some of this education when, there are kids who would probably love to continue that access while they're at home, and maybe improve some of the, some of the numbers for the draft. Maybe not that's necessarily the goal, but I do think there's times and children's and opportunities where like it would be fun to have some of these and also give
Freckle or whatever.
or some of the that they might be.
Well, the Clever portal is accessible anywhere that has internet access. And so as long as the student has their either their Google login credentials.
That is so much easier said than done.
They come home with a 3x5 card.
Or the QR code.
I have found that to be very
Some.
consistent in my experience. What is work? Maybe I'm unusual, but like I just
I think that's good
if we could
feedback.
like keep reinforcing that
Sure.
and maybe send it via various events
Right.
so that we can make sure.
And then
Gets host.
comes around during the pandemic and distance learning time. So there was a website that I created at the time that was specifically designed to facilitate parent and student access at home. So maybe I'll refresh that and publicize it. It was intended because we, at that time, we couldn't really help people in person all that much, and it was harder to. We needed to provide much more direct support to families at home. So that was the purpose of that site. So I'll
Good resource though, I do remember that.
yeah. So I'll update it and make sure that it's because obviously things have changed somewhat since then, and but I think it still has.
That's great.
a use. All right. So Now, part of instructional technology is you can have all of these things, but how do you make sure that people can get there, can access it, and how do you make sure that you are providing students with a readily available set of resources that can, beyond just the hoverboard, what are you supposed to do with these exactly? So to that end, Google Classroom is our learning management system for grades 3 through 8. And the idea with Google Classroom is that it streamlines creation, distribution, and grading of assignments. So students or teachers at those grade levels push out their digital content via the Google Classroom assignments. All of the kids are rostered to Google Classroom. The students receive training on how to access the assignments. If it's a Google Drive assignment, like a writer's workshop assignment, for example, it will create a Google Doc associated with that assignment. The teacher can interface with that assignment directly on Google Classroom, provide revisions and suggestions, have the student turn it in digitally. The teacher can then process it, send it back to the kid for further revisions, or just grade it and send it back to the student. At the middle school, we also have, in conjunction with Google Classroom, which is really about assignment management. We have Aries Gradebook, which is the gradebook. What is my grade in this class component? So they kind of run in parallel. And you may recall that School Loop kind of precipitously went out of business 2 or 3 years ago. And so Google Classroom and Aries Gradebook in partnerships have replaced it. Yeah. All right. So in addition to managing these apps, we want to make sure that, like I said, that we use instructional technology judiciously and that technology does not become a source of distraction. So to that end, we have a tool called Securely Classroom. And this is for grades 4 and 8. And that's really when the students' use of instructional technology starts to pick up. So Securely Classroom is a tool that teachers have access to at those grade levels. And the way that it works is that teachers start a Securely Classroom session, the students join it, and this teacher can see all of their screens on a dashboard on their screen. And then the teacher can push a website to them from their interface and say, I want you to go here. They can lock the students into a particular set of tabs or just one tab. They can observe students' behavior. So if there's distraction, they can discreetly chat that student and say, hey, looks like you're a little off topic. Can you come back to it? Or they could just close the tabs and block a distracting resource.
Sean has clearly used it.
The teachers love it and the kids hate it. So I take that as some kind of stuff. No, I mean, it is really beneficial in terms of like making sure that the access, as you can imagine, there's no shortage of distractions, even with the web filters that we apply. The game makers of like those really basic .io games that no doubt all of the kids have played at one point or another. They're very insidious and they'll pop up in new URLs. So it's very hard to cover all of that. We have categorical blocks on apps on games like this. But if a teacher is observing something in the moment and they need a tool to make sure the kids stay on task, this is just solution. Okay, so another component to technology integration is making sure that the staff is trained and that they feel comfortable and have facility with the tools that we're providing. So that takes a few different forms. In my role, I provide professional development on app usage. So for Securely Classroom, I provided training on how to use it. We talked about AI. I've been doing AI trainings lately. And then dating back for years, I've been working with Google Workspace, doing Google Workspace trainings with teachers and a variety of different other apps as well. And of course, we also want to make sure that, PD and my own availability are limited resources. So I wanted to make sure that that teachers have a place to turn if they're curious about an app or need support and aren't sure how to use it. So the staff resource site was built over time, and it has 24/7 on-demand support and tutorials on all our core apps. So if you are curious on how to use Google Classroom, you can go there. It has videos on how to push an assignment, how to process the assignment. If you want to know how to use Adobe Express, which is the video production tool, You can go there and find out how to create a movie, how to edit it. All the core tools are there. It also has tech integrated projects across all grade levels and subject areas. So if you're a fourth grade teacher, you're looking for a way to integrate technology in a meaningful way in your social studies California Regions unit, you can go there and find a project that's pretty much packaged and ready to go using Google My Maps on how to build an interactive map with videos and pictures of California, as opposed to the still valuable but perhaps antiquated shells and pinto beans California maps sometimes. Moving on to the next one. Of course, AI is top of mind for everybody, and it is a new, obviously it's a new frontier for educators as well. And we're all, I think I can speak for everybody in the county that I work with, that we're all trying to get our heads around what is the appropriate use case, how do we make use of a tool like this that's very exciting and a little anxiety inducing. How do we make sure that we hold true to our educational principles and instructional principles while providing students with the tools to learn how to use AI, because we're not going to be able to ignore it. So it's much like any new technology, cars, the internet. We need to make sure that the students know how to engage with this new technology in a responsible way, because we can't bury our heads in the sand. So to that end, where we're at right now is, for the past 2 years, really, I've been working with the county subcommittee of EdTech educators called the EdTech subcommittee. And all of us have been working on AI policy and working with Common Sense. This committee has become very much focused on AI and talking about how the role of AI in education. And we have been providing staff trainings on AI starting really last year, but this year in earnest, where we're doing a much more comprehensive, this is how you use AI for productivity. This is an appropriate role for AI to take in, developing your lesson plans and, thinking about how to integrate technology. Really, in the kind of work I used to do as a tech TOSA, AI can really do a lot of that in terms of like, okay, I need a really great end product for my lesson, my unit on feudal Japan. What can you give me that's 5 lessons that will produce, and I want end products like a movie, a podcast, website. It will do all of that in really interesting ways. But we still need to train teachers on like, okay, well, just because it says that's the case, does that make it so? So we need to make sure that we're training teachers on, vetting the materials, and AI is getting really good at, there are interesting new tools that allow you to kind of feed it the material that you want it to source from. So it's not just pulling from every single source possible. So you can be a little bit more ensured output is accurate. And we also want to make sure that teachers feel like what they've been trained on is being honored as well, and that we aren't throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So the next frontier that we're also working on is developing a student-facing policy, because, as we all know, AI's here and it's not going to go away. We want to make sure that the students have the skill set to engage with it in a responsible way. So that's kind of where we're at right now. In the spring, we started piloting some student-facing platforms that are very much in the sort of walled garden kind of environment, where Magic School, for example, it has an environment where you place the students into basically this AI structure and you feed it. You say, I want the students to be engaged in the following topics. The following resources are okay for them to pull from, and I want them to work on the following things. So it kind of gives them a curated AI experience, as opposed to go on ChatGPT and just start asking questions, which is not what we want. So we're kind of taking a very slow, measured approach to it, because it is a big topic, and we want to make sure that we're not rushing precipitously into anything. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
I'd love to hear more about, like the ones that are more, student facing, like some of these AI tutors sound like particularly interesting. And I'm thinking specifically for things like the use case of like our triple accelerated math students, where, you know, as they're kind of going through a lot of their curriculum, like where we can kind of target opportunities for kids who wouldn't be able to get it through the other mechanisms. Like, are you seeing, like, how are you guys thinking about, or you mentioned sort of pilots for some of these programs?
Exactly that. You know, Flint and Magic School, you can build them out to function basically as a on-demand tutor.
Yeah.
And this, you know, rather than replacing the teacher, it just kind of augments what the teacher can offer and what the classroom can offer. So we want to make sure that, yes, the teacher has a role, and it's the primary role in terms of the instructional, but the teacher can also facilitate this dynamic where by engaging with an AI tool like Flint and having the students you know, work with an AI tutor to you know, continue expanding their knowledge. You know, the teacher is a limited resource within a classroom, and they have somewhere around 26 kids depending on the class. It can be challenging for them to differentiate for everybody in a timely manner. I mean, I can speak to that as a former teacher myself. And this is one way that we can make the classroom experience impactful and efficient and really expand the influence of the teacher. So that's definitely an interest. I can't say that we've found the tool to do that yet, but that's part of what we're going for.
Great.
I love that you said you don't want to, you know, break things move fast, all the tech things that we hear all the time in this area, and that you want to take a slow and measured approach. But what are the safeguards that you plan to put in place for student privacy, right, and their data?
Sure.
When they're using these educational tools?
Right. So with any tool, AI or otherwise that we adopt, we put it through a vetting process. We have to make sure that it's compliant with student privacy laws before we put it into place. We want to make sure that teachers or any staff member aren't signing up for apps without only thinking about the implications of that, which, you know, none of that is malicious on anybody's part. I think people are just trying to think, oh, this is really cool. I want to get my kids started immediately. Person like myself is here to sort of provide, like, well, let's think this out first. Let's consider, is the app FERPA and COPA compliant? Do we have an app that's similar that might fit the same need that already kind of falls under that guise? So we have a vetting process for any new app that we use. And that would be the same for AI tools as well. So any pilot that we've tried thus far, they've always sent us, I've always requested, and they sent us their compliance policies. And, you know, any app worth its salt will have that. And part of what we do is, in terms of vetting, is we feed it through common sense and make sure that the privacy rating is, you know, passes muster in terms of what we need it to be.
Lots of teacher AI assessments I hear Common Sense Media's website. My other question is around professional development for teachers and that framework. I know it's a broad swath, like there's so many apps as you've noted here. How do you go about doing that, making sure that the teachers understand the platforms, go through the policy, you're reading the fine print of each app, right, which is wonderful. But how will this training be sustained, within this AI era where everything's so fast and changing constantly, continuing to evolve?
Right. So yeah, that's part of the, like I said, that's part of the vetting process. And so what kind of our initial step is, I don't want to put the brakes on innovation entirely. I want to make sure that teachers feel empowered to, if they go to a conference like a Q conference and they see a very exciting app, I want to make sure that they feel that they can bring it to the district and have it considered. So I have an initial intake form that they submit to, and I ask them to do a little bit of due diligence on their part, like investigate, do we have an app that's kind of similar that maybe you just haven't thought about? Have you gone through to common sense and checked on the privacy scores and making sure that this is an app that's worth us pursuing further? What's the cost? Who's going to manage it? All those kind of logistical things that are important as well. And then assuming that it passes through that initial application, we bring it to LT and discuss it as as a leadership team in terms of do we want to, this app looks pretty good. I've tried it out. I've piloted it with a few teachers, which is usually how things happen is test it out. And then at leadership team, we decide funding source, deployment scope, like is this going to be something that the entire elementary school or all the elementary schools will adopt, or is this a little bit more limited? So we take it kind of up the chain in that way.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so as part of instructional technology, we also want to make sure, like I said, that we are providing the students with tools to engage with technology in a responsible way. So for years, we've been using Common Sense's digital citizenship curriculum, and we have a scope and sequence here in Orinda in which each grade level at the elementary school teaches 3 to 5 lessons covering a variety of topics. And then at the middle school core takes the responsibility for teaching those lessons. So there's a set of lessons that matches the grade level and the age group, but they kind of spiral and cover the same topics or similar topics, just in more sophistication and more applicable as the students get older. So by the time they get to 8th grade, they will have seen, if they, assuming they came in with us by 8th grade, they will have seen the entire scope of and sequence of Common Sense's digital citizenship. And so topics are, kind of what you would expect, as well as some things that are kind of new. So finding a balance between online and offline life, managing your digital footprint, making sure you're thoughtful about, we have that concept of like, if it's online, it's forever. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about such things. Talking about social media and making sure the students understand the implications of that. And then lately, in the last couple of years, obviously, responsible use of AI. Okay, so now CASP is the, one of our end products in terms of like, how do we measure that these things actually had an impact? And I won't belabor CASP too much because it's not a terribly exciting topic, but it is important. And it serves as a capstone of our instructional technology efforts in many ways, because this is a way that we see the effect of our instructional practices, whether they be instructional technology or otherwise. It's all contributing to this end goal, obviously. So this is one measure among many, but it is a useful one to see like, okay, so are we seeing benefits in terms of math performance and in terms of ELA? It's not immediately causal evidence that you can say, well, that app resulted in this 5 points of test performance, but I kind of think of it holistically as it contributes in some manner. So I want to make sure that we're thoughtful in that. Now, the more logistical side of things is that the technology department takes a big role in terms of making sure the secure browser is installed on all of the devices, making sure that all the devices are up to date and ready to run the test, making sure that the network infrastructure can support running the test. And then on the day of or the days of the test, we're out at sites, making sure that everything's operational, communicating with each other, making sure that the test goes off without a hitch, as well as training the staff, which is one of my main roles, on how to do the test. So then, and even after the test is complete, I'm still the one who's managing appeals. If there's something that goes wrong, those come to me, and we run out to Tom's and make sure that everything is working correctly if a student submits a test too early. So it's kind of it's an A to Z implementation. Okay, so this next one is this district device profile. So obviously, access to instructional technology is you need devices to do any of these things. So here in Orinda, we use iPads for K2 students because the touch interface is much more user-friendly to younger students. Once you get to grades 3 through 8, we're using Chromebooks because of the nature of the type of work they're doing. They're writing essays, they're researching. So a Chromebook is a durable, cost-effective, ideal solution for that. And they're also, a Chromebook is basically a Google going device. It gets you straight onto your drive, and so you can start collaborating and working with your students, your fellow students. And then at the certificated level, we use MacBooks, and those are designed to meet the greater data processing needs that a Chromebook would really fit. And then as part of all of that, obviously the tech department, is very thankful for one.
I was curious about that actually, because I mean, there are higher powered Chromebooks. Is it more, I mean, the look and feel of the MacBook is still, is it more of a staff acceptability issue, or is it more of a?
There's also
Yeah.
the security component. MacBooks are, broadly speaking, an easier device for us to secure than like a PC would be.
I'm thinking more of a high-end Chromebook.
Oh.
Instead for staff. Be very familiar, well, at least a few years ago, with high-end Chromebooks. It's just, there are other, I'm happy to chat with you offline too about it. It makes the security posture easier if everybody's on Chromebooks. Actually, I agree with the PC comment.
Right.
But then it's a learning curve for staff, and it doesn't always have the nice fit and finish PC
Right.
of a Mac, I should say.
Yeah, and I think there's a component to that too. We want to make sure that our staff feel like we have.
Yeah. And that's.
I agree that there is a cultural piece to that, but we do feel like the MacBook is an appropriate device in terms of like the security components, in terms of the processing power. But I've seen those Chromebooks there. In terms of management, we manage the devices on a regular schedule. We make sure that security updates are timed for us to do them. Oh, sorry, go back to the top. Devices are cycled out when it's time to retire them. Make sure that we provision devices on a timely basis in terms of what the Chromebooks are due to cycle out. We make sure that we manage the funds and the donations so that we can replace them. Okay.
And you were just starting to say one of the funds.
Yes, and so One Orinda is very generous in their donation. Student and staff devices are funded by One Orinda donations, which we very much appreciate. Okay, I won't belabor the next couple because they're more infrastructure, but all of this, I think of it as like, it's not just, a projector or a TV. All of this is part and parcel with instructional technology. We need these devices to be modern and upgraded and reliable in order for the teachers to learn, in order for the students to be able to interact with the lessons. So we've, over the past few years, have upgraded pretty much all of our displays. At OAS, we standardized around a Samsung 75-inch TV. At the elementary school, we have an Epson PowerLight projector so that we can preserve the whiteboard space and also be able to annotate on top of images. This past summer, we upgraded all of the dot cams to standardize around the IPEVA model you see. So all of this is in service of I would say the same about the network upgrades. It's not the most exciting topic, but really none of this stuff would work.
But when it doesn't work, it's exciting.
It does get exciting. So with 3,000 odd devices online in use in the district, during the course of the school day, we need the network to be stable, and so the upgrades through the bond measure have been really critical to make sure that I'm thinking of when I was a teacher. I basically used to train my students to be little IT staff members in a way, because it's like, all right, have you tried the reset? Have you tried the hard reset? Have you tried this? Turn the Wi-Fi on. I think we're in a better place than we were several years ago because the network is just strong. And of course, as part of that, we want to make sure that we maintain cybersecurity for all this. This is a critical component. So I won't belabor this too much because it doesn't directly at first glance appear to have much to do with instructional technology. But having hosted firewalls, having filters that make sure that the students are being blocked from inappropriate content, and so that inappropriate content doesn't inadvertently arrive on their device, all of this is very important to minimize distractions and risk. So we want to make sure that we have these pieces in place as well. Okay, and lastly, just a shout out to security upgrades, which keep our schools safe so that instructional technology can happen. We have upgraded security cameras, visitor management system, PA system. All of this, again, is in service to learning outcomes. So I think that's the last one.
Thank you, Kevin. This is also comprehensive. Yeah, very important. Very important.
I mean, I was just gonna say thank you, Kevin, for putting this all together, for staying updated
because there's thousands of this stuff out there, and you seem to be very knowledgeable and, on point on what this district needs, because we have become so reliant on technology. I can't imagine like being able to check my child's, what he's doing on Google Classroom. Like that's great. So thank you.
I was just going to say thank you as well, and having, been in this seat now for 9 years and being part of all of this change and seeing how much it's evolved, it really is quite incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to echo their points, I know a bunch of these companies outside of this as well, and sugar candy. I'm kind of proud of our district and really, Kevin, thank you for keeping us at the forefront of the kind of the opportunities that are out there. I think it's only going to get crazier, from here on out. So, all pull under our hats, but it's, I think we're in as good a position as I've too much in, any other public school districts that I've seen around in terms of what we're already adopting and those things that we've got. So, and that goes from everything from like the physical security, the product, and some of those tools all the way through to what we're using for the students and the teachers.
Yeah, thank you. This was an awesome presentation and long overdue. This was really comprehensive, so I appreciate it. I learned a new acronym, SAMR. So maybe I'd heard it before, but now I'm going to use it.
It's catchy. Sam earlier.
It's not great. There's better. Yeah, just did what everyone already said. This is really comprehensive. You have a massive job.
I wrote a note, it's no jokes.
Yeah. Jokes. We're gonna get water. That's my train of thought. That's good enough. Thank you. Yeah.
More evidence of Sandberg.
Yeah.
And which levels as we visit classrooms, starting with Del Rey on Wednesday.
Yes. And I'll just say, I love the digital literacy and well-being piece of it too, making sure the kids are safe, their data is safe. And I love how you're integrating that into the teacher development professional.
Thank you.
All right, this is just up for discussion. Our next item is 9B OPEB guidelines and investment report. Mika.
Thank you. So this is for Fund 71, post-employment health benefit trust account report. When it was started, it was 1 million, and within 10 years, 900,000 was earned. So now the trust balance is 1.9 million.
Is there a specific one you want me to project or?
No.
Okay.
I think the regular item has all the numbers.
Okay, that's right.
So since the insertion, the net return rate is 5.6%. Net OPEB liability is 17.8 million. And this was 20 million last year, 1 year ago. And the drastic decrease is because of the municipal bond index increased from 3.97% to 5.2%. That contributed to the liability decrease. And suggested or actuarially determined contribution amount is about 2 million, and it was 1.3 million last year. And this is for the discussion.
Great, thank you, Mika. This is just up for discussion. Any comments, discussion from the board?
No, I just appreciate, continue to bring this back. It's an ongoing liability that we have, but the budget, I don't think there's much we can do about it.
I think Mika, in November, you present that the board contributes
10,000.
Right.
which really doesn't do much towards, but
But it is a contribution.
something.
Yes, yeah.
correct. We are not planning on recommending more. Not at this time.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Mika. Thank you. All right, moving on to board policies. Items 10B through 10. Questions, comments, commentary?
No, all the policies were updated based on new laws, and all of them are updated based on the CSBA guidelines.
Thank you. I know it's ever changing, so thanks for always keeping these.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Most of them are still based on the Title IX reversal and some of the new Supreme Court decisions. So one would be those two mainly.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, this is up for action. Any comments or discussion from the board before we? If I could have a motion, please, to approve the board policies 10B through 10N.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve board policies in 10B through N.
This is Eve, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries, thank you. Next up, communications and announcements. Oh, yay.
That's me, not Charles.
Because it's
Birthday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, celebrating his birthday tonight.
Oh,
happy birthday,
happy birthday, Charles.
Yeah.
Here it's an important.
Mr. Steve on them, no doubt. Yeah. Shout out Mr. Steve, Delray legend. Sean Brennan, OEA Vice President. I'm here on behalf of OEA and our bargaining team to express our enthusiasm in anticipation of the upcoming collective bargaining cycle. We look forward to a productive collaboration and hope to reach a swift and favorable agreement that gets our team back to where we need them most, in the classroom with our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We don't have anyone from CSEA
We do not.
right now. Cabinet update?
I don't think there's any cabinet updates.
Can I just do this again?
Yes.
Jokes tonight. All right. Board update. We'll start with Benita.
Last week, I did the site visit at OIS. It looks great. I think, yeah, the buildings that have been modernized are fabulous. I've heard that the windows, I guess, it's almost like noise proof. Like you can't really hear the noise outside, which is
Dual pane window.
it's amazing. And then on Thursday, we have our board coffee.
Seems that it's been busy actually for me the last month. I attended coordinating council. Let's see what else. I went to the mayor's meeting last week. 2x2 meeting, did the CSBA ethics training. Have the board coffee coming up. I don't know. Looks like it's ramping up. I'm excited to, start the site visits though. I'm really, 2x2, yeah. 2x2, we talked about the crossing guards. And the city has requested an update on that and how it's going. Councilmember Iverson is concerned that maybe we don't need one at Wagner, so that was kind of a talking point, I'll say. We had a community member that was there as well, was concerned about some of it as well.
Well, we scheduled the school bus board meeting, which is going to be in October. So looking forward to that. I think it should be able to make this one. So very exciting.
Let's see, well, we had our board workshop last month. The last one? Yeah, the end of yeah. And then the facilities committee.
Oh,
meeting,
right.
I went to.
Yeah, I have
It's
that,
very
yeah.
exciting to be talking about those needs. And then I think most of the school visits that I'm on are start in October. So it's coming up. I think my October's full. Well, September's not full.
Had my CSBA ethics training, riveting.
Yes,
Right. Attended the 2x2 with Hillary, and our board workshop, and of course we have Delray on Wednesday. Yes. That's it. And then, we're off to races. So, all right. Moving on to items 12B through L. the consent calendar. Any questions or comments about what's below? I have a motion, please.
This is Hillary. I move that the board approve the consent calendar.
This is Katie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And now we come to future agenda items for the next 2 meetings. Any additions or questions around that? I know this was a topic at our workshop, so just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, big agenda, couple reports in October. We have an assessment report coming. Looking forward to hearing all about our assessments, especially the CASP scores, special ed kind of update because of the unaudited actuals. So we'll add to that. And then in November, food service and single plans for student achievement. Those are, there's other things, big reports.
Thank you. And no one wants anything added? Okay, great. And finally, we move to adjournment.
Hillary, I move that we adjourn.
Katie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Thank
you, everyone.